Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into, well, a really fascinating and honestly somewhat mysterious bit of legal history. It's a story that involves high-stakes drug trafficking, yeah, but also significant cooperation with federal authorities, and then these really puzzling gaps in the public record. So our mission today is to try and uncover the journey of Desiree Perez. She's currently the CEO of Rock Nation, you probably know. We want to trace her path from a drug trafficking arrest back in 1994 all the way through to receiving a presidential pardon. But we're really going to hone in on this striking anomaly, the missing details about her critical cooperation.
Exactly. And what we'll explore isn't just what happened, although that's compelling enough. It's really the broader questions that plop up when key information, stuff that's usually public record,
Yeah.
just isn't there. So this deep dive is definitely for you if you're curious about how a really significant legal case can leave behind this trail of known facts mixed with some critical unknowns. It challenges how we think about transparency in the justice system.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this then. Our sources are telling us that back in 1994, Desiree Perez was arrested in New York. And this wasn't like a small-time bust. She was caught with intent to distribute a massive amount, 35 kilograms of cocaine. When we hear intent to distribute and then drug conspiracy, what does that instantly tell us about the sheer scale and the seriousness of what she was facing?
Well, those terms are absolutely crucial here. Intent to distribute immediately signals she wasn't seen as just a user. She was identified as a significant player, someone moving large quantities. And adding drug conspiracy on top of that, it elevates the severity even further. It means the prosecution believes she was actively working with others to commit these crimes, which makes her potentially culpable for the whole operation, not just her specific actions.
And it was a whole operation, right?
Yeah.
Not just contained to New York City.
No, not at all. The conspiracy apparently stretched across multiple states. We're talking New York, down to Florida, and even reaching as far as Puerto Rico. So she and a co-defendant, Amaury Lopez, were looking at a minimum sentence, a mandatory minimum, of 10 years in federal prison.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a serious, high-level federal case right from the very beginning. It really underscores the reach of the network she was allegedly involved with.
So, okay, facing a decade behind bars, that's a critical moment. What does she do next? This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
It really is. Because faced with those severe consequences, Perez made a huge decision. She chose to cooperate with the Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA. And we need to be clear, this wasn't just, answering some questions. Our sources say she provided substantial assistance.
Substantial assistance. What does that mean in practical legal terms?
It's a key legal term. It basically means a defendant provides really significant, verifiable help to the government. Often it's against other criminals, maybe higher up the chain, and in return, the government can recommend a lighter sentence. It's a powerful tool, a powerful incentive in these kinds of cases. It can totally change the outcome for the defendant.
And her assistance, it wasn't passive, right? We're talking about some pretty active, high-stakes stuff she did.
Oh, absolutely. High risk is probably an understatement. The reports indicate she actually wore a wire.
Wow.
On multiple occasions. Just think about that for a second.
Wow.
Secretly recording conversations with, presumably, major cocaine traffickers.
And not just anywhere.
Right, not in some safe house. This was happening in places like Puerto Rico, even Colombia, according to the information we have.
Yeah.
This was definitely not a passive role. It was active, incredibly dangerous work, putting yourself right in the middle of it to gather intelligence.
The bravery involved there is hard to imagine.
It really is. The risk if she'd been discovered.
And the impact. Her cooperation, this risky work, it had a huge impact, didn't it?
Staggering impact, yeah. It directly led to the indictment of 19 individuals. 19. All part of a federal drug investigation.
19 people.
And this operation was specifically targeting a major drug smuggling ring based in South Florida. The result was the seizure of nearly a ton of cocaine.
A ton. How much is that, really?
Okay, so a ton is about 2,000 pounds. Picture, maybe, a small car's worth of cocaine.
Oh, grief.
Or like 10,000 individual bricks. The estimated street value at the time was around $220 million.
220 million.
Yeah, so this wasn't just a minor disruption. This was a massive blow to a significant criminal operation.
That's just an incredible amount of drugs off the street. It really speaks to how effective her cooperation must have been. How significant was this, do you think, in the DEA's bigger picture fight?
Oh, hugely significant. If you connect the dots, her cooperation was instrumental in dismantling a major trafficking network. It wasn't just arrests, it was about breaking that supply chain. And in recognition of this really extensive, really hazardous assistance, she received a drastically reduced sentence.
Right, not the 10 years minimum.
No, she got 30 months in a military-style boot camp program back in 1995. And apparently she was released after serving only part of that time.
Which again suggests how valuable they thought her help was.
Exactly. That quick release really underscores how much the federal authorities valued her contributions. It cut short what could have been a very, very long time in prison.
Okay, so given all that, the scale of her cooperation, taking down this huge ring, 19 indictments, a ton of cocaine, seized, you'd expect, well, a pretty detailed public record, right? But this is where the story takes another strange turn, isn't it? There seems to be this striking absence of public documents about the specifics of her help.
And this raises a really, really important question. It gets right to the heart of how our justice system is supposed to work, with transparency. We live in an era where, generally speaking, federal indictments, plea agreements, details about significant cooperation, they're public record. You can usually find them.
Right.
So why, in this specific case, are so many crucial details just not disclosed? We don't publicly know the names of all 19 individuals she helped indict. We don't know the specific states beyond the general areas where they all operated or the exact outcomes of all those indictments. It's all kind of shrouded.
It is really unusual, isn't it?
It's highly unusual for a federal case of this size, especially one involving such substantial assistance, to have so little publicly available information about its core elements.
And our sources, people looking into this, they describe it using terms like a suspicious gap or a striking lack of court records. For some observers, it just seems fishy. It leads to speculation, obviously. Was her cooperation given some kind of unprecedented protection? Was information deliberately suppressed? Or maybe even actively removed from public view? You have to wonder.
The fact that this detailed paperwork seems to have vanished creates what one source called a suspicious opacity. It's just cloudy. And when this significant details that led to major drug seizures, multiple indictments are kept under wraps, it raises serious questions. Questions about accountability, about public oversight, maybe even about the historical record itself.
Yeah, it leaves so much open to interpretation.
Exactly. It limits our ability, and yours as the listener, to get a truly full picture of what happened and the full impact of her cooperation. We know that what she cooperated, it was significant, no doubt, but the who she cooperated against and how it all ended for those other individuals. That remains remarkably absent from the public view. And that's rare for such a big federal takedown.
It really makes you think about why certain information might be shielded and what that means.
Precisely. What precedents does that set?
So, okay, the mystery of the missing records is one major part of this story. Then we fast forward quite a bit to 2021, and there's another really significant development. Desiree Perez received a full pardon from then-President Donald Trump.
Yes, and a presidential pardon is, well, it's a very powerful executive action. It essentially wipes the slate clean legally. It doesn't overturn the conviction technically, but it forgives it.
Restore civil rights, that sort of thing.
Exactly. It removed the legal consequences of the conviction. In Perez's case, the official statement cited her efforts to, quote, turn her life around. It acknowledged her contributions to society since those earlier legal troubles.
So it's a formal end to the legal consequences for her.
Right.
But this pardon, while it closes that legal chapter for her personally, it doesn't actually answer any of the questions about her original cooperation, does it? It doesn't shed light on those missing records.
No, it doesn't. It addresses her current legal status, provides that clean slate going forward, but it offers absolutely no new public information about the specifics of her cooperation back in the 90s. So the pardon deals with her future, but it doesn't really illuminate the past for the public. That curtain on the details of her assistance, it remains firmly drawn.
Okay, so let's recap. You've heard how Desiree Perez's 1994 arrest for being part of this massive drug conspiracy led to some incredibly crucial high-stakes cooperation with the DEA, and that cooperation resulted in significant indictments, huge seizures. It's a story of incredible risks, dramatic actions, and eventually a clear path to redemption, legally speaking, with the pardon.
Yes, but the puzzle that just won't go away is the missing documentation. It really is a compelling example of a powerful story where the official public record just seems to have this silent chapter. It leaves us and you wondering about the full picture, and it makes you think about the implications of that kind of secrecy. The known facts are fascinating, but the missing context might be even more intriguing.
So for you, the listener, we hope this deep dive has given you not just the known facts, but maybe also highlighted why it's important to ask critical questions when information you'd expect to be there. Just isn't. It's a powerful reminder, isn't it, that sometimes the most interesting parts of a story, maybe the most significant insights, are found not just in what's recorded, but in those gaps, those absences.
Which leads us to a final thought to leave you with.
Right.
What does it really signify when detailed records from a case of this magnitude seem to vanish from public view? What does that tell us about transparency or maybe the lack of it in certain legal outcomes? And maybe more importantly, how should we as informed citizens approach information when we know the full story isn't openly available and some crucial parts might just remain in the shadows forever?